Hello everybody, my name is Matthew Hoyts, and I'm thrilled to be here today with the Lewis and Clark that traveled across the USA on the Missouri River to reach the Pacific Ocean. Today we'll have the opportunity to ask them some questions about the expedition, their encounters, and what they recorded. Before we start, why don't both of you tell a little bit about yourselves?
Well, my name is Meriwether Lewis, and I was born on August 18, 1774 in Albemarle County, Virginia. I joined the Army at the age of 20 and eventually rose to the rank of captain in the 1800s. Then I became Thomas Jefferson's private secretary in 1801 and was asked to command the expedition.
My name is William Clark, and I was born on August 1st, 1770 in Caroline County, Virginia. In 1789, I joined the militia. Later, I joined the U.S. Army, soon becoming an officer. In 1796, I resigned from the Army to attend family properties in Kentucky. 7 years later, in 1803, I accepted the invitation of Meriwether Lewis to co-command the expedition.
To begin, our first question is, what was the Lewis and Clark expedition, and what were the main goals?
Well, the expedition was a U.S. military expedition led by me and Lieutenant Clark to explore the Louisiana Purchase and the Pacific Northwest. The main goals of the expedition were to establish a trade network across the country, to prevent the American Indians encounter, and to confirm or deny the freedom of an all-water Northwest passage to the Pacific Ocean, which was denied.
Next, what were some of the supplies you bought and used for the expedition?
On the expedition, we used mathematical instruments such as an octant, which was used to measure the altitude of the land, and a sextant, which measured the angular distance between two objects. In addition, everyone carried waterproof coats to keep warm and dry during rainy days. Also, presents were given out to each tribe of the Indians that were encountered. These presents were shirts, ribbons, kettles, tobacco, butcher knives, and peace medallions.
What were the different geographical features you guys explored?
We discovered the Missouri River to its headwaters and the Continental Divide at Lemhi Pass, in the north to Travelers Coast and the Bitterroots at Lolo Pass. We also discovered that the Rocky Mountains were much more extensive and rough than expected, over 300 miles across in some areas.
How many new and different species of animals did you come across? What were they?
We discovered 122 animal species, including 7 Great Plains species. Some of these species included the grizzly bear, the white-tailed jackrabbit, and the black-tailed prairie dog.
What about the plants? And what was the most fascinating one to see?
We discovered 178 plant species during our journey. Of all of them, I believe the most fascinating ones were the blue flax and the bitterroot.
What challenges did you face on the expedition?
Along the way of the expedition, we were confronted by harsh weather, tough terrain, treacherous waters, injuries, starvation, disease, and both friendly and hostile Native Americans. Most of this was caused by cruel winters and snowstorms, strong currents on the river, and Native American territory.
What Native Americans have you encountered?
Out of the many Native American tribes that we made peace with, 2 of them are the Shawnee tribe and the Mandan tribe. The Shawnee tribe along the Ohio was the first Native American tribes me and Clark discovered. The Shawnee tribe were known for being political traitors and kind to many, but feared enemies to others. In November of 1804, we came across the village of the Mandan tribe in North Dakota. We decided to set up camp for the winter nearby. The Mandan tribe were known to live in permanent shelters as they hunted, farmed, and collected wild plants and berries.
How many miles did you roughly travel from the whole expedition, and how long did it take?
We began the expedition on May 14, 1804, and we were back by September 23, 1806, and the total mileage throughout the expedition was more than 8,000 miles.
And finally, how were you able to record or document all this information?
We recorded all this information by using journals. In these journals, we recorded huge volumes of data, temperatures, and weather.
And that concludes our Lewis and Clark expedition. We'll see you next time.
Hello, my name is Kate and welcome to the St. Louis, Missouri Times. Today we have 2 guests from the Lewis and Clark expedition. Clark and Sacagawea, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for inviting us. It's good to be here.
Yes, we are excited to be here.
We will ask you a few questions if that's okay with you.
Yes, that's fine with me.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine.
First question, did the trip take as long as you expected?
Yes and no, because Thomas Jefferson thought we would be gone for a year and was worried for our safety.
Second question, what was the hardest part of being away from home for so long?
It was probably missing our families and being homesick. We were away for 2.5 years and missed out on a lot.
I miss my hometown and sleeping on a normal bed, not the cold hard ground.
That must have been difficult. Did you have any other names as a kid?
Yes, I had 2 other names. They were Mahishu Lee or Chicago Lee. These were my names as a kid.
Those are very strange, but cool. Do you have siblings, and if you do, how many?
I have 9 siblings. It was never boring at home.
I have a brother and he was the chief of the Shoshone tribe, my native tribe where I lived before I got kidnapped.
That's a lot of siblings. What happened after you were kidnapped?
A year after I was kidnapped, my kidnappers forced me to get married at age 14.
That must have been scary for you.
Yeah.
What were the dangers along the expedition to get to the Pacific Ocean?
There were some very dangerous, harsh weather, unforgiving terrain, treacherous waters, and a lot of injuries.
While I was pregnant, the terrains were unbearable. There were also a lot of diseases, and I had a big chance of getting sick and losing my child.
That must have been stressful. What species of plants did you discover?
Some plants we discovered were golden currant, bitterroot, and wild onion.
What animals did you discover?
Some animals we discovered were the pronghorn grizzly bears and black-tailed prairie dogs.
That's amazing that you discovered all that. And my last question, if there was one thing about the journey that you wouldn't want to go through again, what would it be and why?
If there was one thing I wouldn't do again, it would be the legendary Northwest Passage.
I will probably not go on a long, dangerous trip while I was pregnant. It was very difficult.
Yeah, I know pregnancy is hard, but it must have been even harder on this difficult journey. Thank you for joining us today. See you next time.
Bye.
Hello, my name is Kylie. Today we'll be interviewing 2 main captains on the Lewis and Clark expedition. We will be asking them a few questions about their trip now. Why did you want to go on the expedition to the Pacific?
We decided to go on the expedition because of 3 main reasons. To establish a trade network between the whole country, to befriend Native Americans, and to figure out if the Northwest Passage was real or myth.
How many miles did you travel on your expedition?
During the expedition, we traveled about 8,000 miles from Campos to Columbia and Dr. St. Louis.
How long did it take you to reach the Pacific Ocean and come back?
We started May 14th, 1804, and we came back on March the 23rd, 1806.
What geographic features did you see on your expedition?
We saw many different types of landforms, such as the Rocky Mountains, vast prairie lands, the Badlands of the Dakotas, and many other types of beautiful landscapes.
How many people were alive on the start of the expedition? How many people made it back?
At the start of the expedition, we had a total of 45 people. We lost 1 person, and 33 reached the Pacific.
Who was the one person that died on your expedition?
The one person that died was Surgeon Charles Floyd Jr., and we think the reason he has passed away was because of his appendix.
How many Native American tribes did you meet during the expedition?
During the expedition, we had met around 50 different Native American tribes, including the Sioux, Chinook, Minnetali, and many other interesting and fascinating Native American tribes.
What gifts did you give to the Native Americans?
The gifts that we prepared for the Native Americans were 4 dozen butcher knives, 12 dozen pocket-looking glasses, 72 pairs of striped ribbons, and 8 brass kettles.
How many plants and animals that you discovered on expedition?
I discovered 178 types of unique plants and 122 animals during the expedition. In total, I had discovered around 300 animals and plants, which is revolutionary for these early years of the United States.
Did you bring any animals on your expedition?
Yes, we brought Luce's Newfoundland water dog, Seaman. Seaman had traveled the whole expedition on that.
Thank you for being here and telling us about your adventures in the expedition.
Welcome to the Lewis and Clark interview. I'm Samir, and today I'll be asking them some questions about their expedition. Welcome, Mr. Clark.
Well, hello.
And welcome, Mr. Lewis.
Thank you for having me.
So let's get started. What encouraged you to go on this high-risk expedition, Clark?
Our reasoning for going on this expedition is that although we knew it was a dangerous and risky journey, we hoped to be able to find what we eventually discovered, which were new landforms and the path to the Pacific Ocean.
Originally, did you expect your expedition to be this successful?
We always knew we had the tools to achieve our goals and discover what we set out to find, but I think we all had our doubts at certain times throughout the journey.
Well, what about you, Mr. Lewis? What were some of the difficulties you encountered on your expedition?
Well, one of our challenges was our encounter with the Sioux. They were violent and wanted to stop the expedition from moving forward. We thank Chief Black Buffalo for helping us defuse the situation and continue the expedition.
That's nice. Did you have any positive experiences with the Native Americans, and did you befriend any of them?
Well, we knew it wouldn't be easy, but our biggest asset was the gifts we had prepared for them, which include glasses, phosphorus files, ribbons, brass kettles, knives, and more. After I saw what our intentions were, we were happy to see that they would help us.
Nice. What type of new wildlife did you guys discover?
During our expedition, we encountered a variety of new wildlife, mostly grizzly bears and elk. The view of grizzly bears were amazing, as they are powerful and wild creatures that we had only heard about before.
Do you hope and believe that architects will build structures, buildings, or even major cities on the land that you've discovered?
One of the goals our group set out to accomplish was for new cities to be built, so we will strive and encourage our discoveries to be used for a good cause in the future.
That's a good goal. Well, Mr. Lewis, out of all the supplies you took along the way with you, which do you think helped the most?
Personally, I'd say I couldn't just pick one supply that helped us out the most. From our clothing supplies to our medical supplies, and even our firearms to keep the danger of nature away.
Okay. Well, what were your original first impressions on meeting Sacagawea?
I'd say we both certainly believe that Sacagawea would be a considerable value in the Shoshone mission. We expect that she might recognize landmarks along the route and will provide general information about the location of the Shoshone camps. She definitely lived up to our expectations and was one of the main reasons for our discovery.
Wow. On that topic, out of all the members of Discovery that helped along the way, which do you think played the biggest role in that?
Personally, I think everyone a part of the discovery played a special role in our expedition, but if I had to pick one that had been credited less and has given a lot to the expedition is York. He proved popular with the Native Americans who had never seen a black man. He also helped with hunting and the heavy labor of pulling boats upstream. People must give credit to York where it's due.
That's very interesting. Well, for my final question, I was wondering, if you had a chance to do this entire expedition again, would you? And if so, would you do it differently?
If I had the chance to do this expedition again, I would do it in a heartbeat. If I could do anything differently, I would try my best to keep everybody alive.
That's nice. Well, that's all the questions I had for this interview. Say bye.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Anthony Vantucci, and I am here today interviewing Luce and Clark. Clark, what was your background like before you entered the expedition?
Before the expedition, I was an American explorer, soldier, Indian agent, and a territorial governor.
Lewis, what was your background like before you entered the expedition?
Before the expedition, I enlisted in the U.S. Army in 1795 at the age of 21, and I excelled through all the ranks to get me to the lead rank captain.
Clark, out of all your tools / instruments, what was the most important?
The most important tool / instrument that I used during the expedition was a talk and surveyor compass.
Lewis, what were the most interesting animals you found while you were searching for animal life?
The most interesting animals I found while I was looking for an animal life were grizzly bears, mule deer, white-tailed jackrabbits, pronghorns, and swift foxes.
Clark, what wild animal helped you on your expedition the most?
The wild animal that helped our expedition out the most were buffaloes. Buffaloes helped our expedition because we ate almost 9 pounds of buffaloes a day.
Wow, that's a lot of buffalo. Now, Lewis, do you ever receive anything from the Indians? If so, what?
Yes. Our expedition and I did receive a few things from the Indians, like food and an opportunity to rest, and advice about the route they were taking up ahead.
Clark, on the contrary, did your group ever give anything to the Indians?
Yes, we did. We gave the Indians 4 dozen butcher knives, 8 brass kettles, and a lot of clothing.
Lewis, what benefits to the country did your expedition provide?
The benefits the country received from the expedition was a new trade network across the country to make friends with the American Indians and to confirm or deny the theory of an all-water Northwest Passage to the Pacific Ocean.
Clark, what was the biggest difficulty you and your expedition encountered?
The biggest difficulties our expedition encountered were dragging our boats and equipment up steep cliffs and traversing that land instead of going over the water.
Lewis, what do you think was the most important thing you and your crew discovered?
The most important thing that our crew discovered was many different types of animals, like buffaloes and Colombian ground squirrels, plants like prickly pears and cows, and the pathway to the
My name is Riley Pellegrino. Today I am here with
Lewis.
And Clark.
to discuss their famous expedition. Who was a part of the expedition?
Some people who were part of the expedition were Sacagawea, 27 unmarried soldiers, Clark, and myself.
Mr. Clark, did you meet any tribes along the way?
Yes, we did. Some American tribes that we met were the Shoshone tribe in August 1805. In this tribe, we met Sacagawea. Sacagawea helped the core communication translation with her husband.
What did the Shoshone tribe help you with?
In August 1805, the natives helped us cross the Rocky Mountains. We communicated with this tribe to acquire horses to cross the Rocky Mountains. Along the way, it took us approximately 18 months to cross the entirety of the Rocky Mountains.
What type of animals did you encounter on your journey?
For animals, we found prairie dogs, which had declined in numbers since we passed them. We also found wolverines, which is the largest and rarest type of weasel. We also saw more common animals like buffalo, bison, bears, and wolves.
What type of plants did you encounter on your journey?
For plants, we found something called a bearberry, which we nicknamed Kanique, and an Oregon grape, which I described by the name Bavaris aquifolium.
Why did you attend this massive expedition?
We went on this journey to establish a trade network nationwide and to confirm or deny the theory of an all-water Northwest Passage to the Pacific Ocean.
Mr. Lewis, what did you eat on your expedition?
On our journey, we mostly ate bison, bears, beavers, pronghorns, dogs, elk, wolves, deer, and we had berries. In the Great Plains, we mostly ate buffalo, and in Missouri, we ate a lot of catfish.
What are some of the goals you had on your journey?
One of the goals we had on our journey was to explore new land, find new species of animals and plants.
What were some of the supplies you had to take on your journey?
On our journey, we had to take a mathematical instrument like a ruler. We also had supplies for camping, clothing, and meds if we get ill.
How long did the journey take?
Our journey took 2 years, 4 months, and 10 days. It started on May 14th, 1804, and ended September 23rd, 1806.
Thank you, Lewis and Clark, for coming today to this interview. Have a great day. Good morning, America, and welcome to Fox News. My name is Sarah Kroll, and I'm joined by the famous Lewis and Clark. They went on a thrilling expedition together that started in 1804 and are here today to share a bit about their experiences. Now, before we start the interview, do you both want to tell us a little bit about yourselves?
Good morning. My name is Meriwether Lewis, and I led the famous expedition of 1805 along with my co-leader William Clark. Additionally, I also worked as the secretary of President Thomas Jefferson in the year 1801. In fact, he was the one who asked Clark and I to go on this famous expedition. I enjoyed Clark's company over the expedition, and I'm very glad I chose him to lead the expedition with me.
What about you, Clark?
Good morning. My name is William Clark, and I co-led the famous expedition of 1805. In the year 1803, Meriwether Lewis asked me if I wanted to join him on the expedition due to my specific strengths and abilities as a draftsman and frontiersman. Over the past couple years, I have also built a family, where I have several children. This is something that Lewis has talked to me about over the years, saying how he wants to have a family like mine.
It sounds like both of you have had a very accomplished life so far, and I'm sure all of us are wondering about the famous expedition that the two of you went on. So to start, how many different tribes did you come across throughout the whole expedition?
We crossed paths to over 60 native tribes over the course of the trip. Some of the main ones were the Sioux, Osage, and the Mandan. We met the Sioux under the shade of an oak tree, and I delivered the speech that promoted commerce with the United States. I then presented the chiefs with gifts of tobacco, clothing, and peace medals.
They were very grateful for these gifts and were surprisingly nice. We had been told to fear the Sioux people before, but they have now proven to be trusting and kind. We also ran into the Osage tribe, which we had also encountered with. The two of us spent too much time negotiating with the tribe. This tribe is known for being excellent hunters and in a general, a very powerful nation. The Osage were also very spiritual people that backed up their religion's beliefs.
Thank you for sharing this. What were some of the animals that you encountered throughout your expedition?
Well, some of the animals include various grizzly bears, black-tailed prairie dogs, pronghorns, and some mule deer. All of these animals make very distinct sounds, and throughout our journey, both Clark and I have learned to tell the different types of animals apart.
Yes, now we can tell if there's a dangerous animal near us or an animal that we can kill and use for food. Grizzly bears are very large and dangerous. We use them for food along our journey. The black-tailed prairie dog can also be known as the barking squirrel. They are rodents and roughly weigh 2.5 pounds. These animals are in the squirrelae family.
Next, how long did this expedition last, and did you ever think about quitting or turning back around?
Well, the expedition was from 1804 to 1806, and we had faced many different challenges over those harsh 2 years.
It was exactly 2 years, 4 months, and 10 days. We also had our doubts about finishing the expedition, but we decided to stick it out through the end. This journey has brought us closer together, and we have grown to be the best of friends.
Oh wow, that's very interesting. What were some of the plants that you discovered along your journey, and did you recognize any of them?
On the expedition, we discovered many different kinds of plants, including the Lewis flax flower, the four-winged saltbush flower, and many, many more. The Lewis flax flower is found in the Linaceae family of flowers and is native to North America. They can be cooked and eaten, and they contain high oil that is used for flavor.
The flowering saltbush is the Amaranthus family of flowers and is the scientific name Atriplex cantius. We would often use the flowers to make screens, hedges, and barriers, and they actually grow to be 1.5 inch to 2 inches long.
Next, how many different types of plants did you encounter throughout the expedition?
We encountered about 178 different types of plants and have learned to tell them apart by their different kinds.
Yeah, that has become very useful because now we know which plants are poisonous and which ones are not.
Okay, so now, what was the main goal of your expedition?
Well, we had many different goals for this expedition. First, we wanted to establish a trade network across the country. Therefore, we had to scope out the land and waters. Secondly, we wanted to befriend Indians. There's been a rough patch and sort of rivalry between settlers and natives for years, and we wanted to change that.
Yes, therefore, throughout this trip, we didn't want to be seen as threats to Indians, and we certainly didn't want to fight them. Lastly, we wanted to confirm or deny the theory of an all-water Northwest Pacific passage to the Pacific Ocean. This is a theory which was later confirmed by Roald Ambrose.
Okay, so what were some of the geographic features you came across, and what did you learn about them?
Well, we came across many different places, like the Rocky Mountains, the Columbia River, the Missouri River, etc. Lewis and I discovered the Great Plains in 1804 and the Lamphai Pass in 1805.
And on November 15th of 1805, we went onto the Columbian River and we found that it led out to the Pacific Ocean.
That's very interesting. Also, what were some of the items that you brought with you on your journey that were necessary for survival?
To survive on this long expedition, we needed many survival items, including mathematical instruments, like a thermometer and a pocket compass, camping supplies like axes and knives, fishing equipment, medical supplies like borax and calomel, weapons like rifles and knives, clothes like coats and overalls, and much more.
We also needed presents for the Indians, including khaki shirts, red silk handkerchiefs, glasses, sewing threads, knives, fishing hooks, brass wire, etc., because we wanted to express our peace to the Indians. This was a way of showing our peace and showing that we bore no harm to the natives and we didn't possess a threat.
I also heard that on the trip, sadly, one person passed away. Can you tell us a bit about this, and how did you all manage to survive?
Oh yes. Sadly, Sergeant Charles Ford Jr. passed away on our expedition due to a ruptured appendix, as we know today as appendicitis. We all managed to survive really by eating the proper amounts, sleeping the proper amounts, and having the proper clothes and tools to help keep us warm. Without these tools, we wouldn't have survived.
How was your encounter with the Indians during the expedition?
Our encounter with the Indians was surprisingly peaceful. We even made a friend named Sacagawea, who accompanied us on some of our journeys.
Yes, whenever we encountered new groups of Indians, we would meet with the captains and figure out peaceful ways to coexist.
Okay, so the last question is, what was the path that you guys took over the course of the expedition?
The route that we took led us up to the Missouri River, specifically through its headwaters and onto the Pacific Ocean via the Columbia River.
It was a very long trip.
Well, thank you both for taking the time to come here and tell us about your experiences with each other along this expedition. Thank you for watching Fox News, and a special thank you to Meriwether Lewis and William Clark. Bye-bye!
Hello, I'm Kailani. Today we're going to interview members of the Lewis and Clark expedition. Thank you guys for joining us.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. Do you have any jobs before this? If so, what jobs?
Before the expedition, I had 4 previous jobs, which was studying astronomy, botany, zoology, and medicine.
Before the expedition, I joined the Kentucky militia, and then I joined the U.S. Army. And then later, I became an officer.
What goals did you achieve on your trip? What was the original goal?
Our original goal was to discover species, explore the region, and map out the new territory, and then report back to Jefferson. We also wanted to establish trade amongst the country and befriend American Indians.
What was Thomas Jefferson's take on this trip? What did he think?
He was hesitant at first, but due to the French's offer of 4 cents per acre, which was pretty suspicious at first, but eventually negotiated with the French and then the other cabinet. He bought the land and then commanded Clark and I to explore the new territory.
Interesting. What are some interesting species and plants you found along the way?
Some interesting species we found along the way were swift foxes, and white-tailed jackrabbits. Also, some intriguing plants that we found were Indian basket grass and bitterroot.
Oh, fascinating. What did you learn from this experience? How was the trip overall?
We learned a lot from the American Indian tribes, including Sacagawea, who played a huge part in completing the mission. We also discovered a vast majority about French territory.
How did Sacagawea play a significant role on your journey to this expedition?
We met Sacagawea halfway through the expedition, just before crossing the mountains. She was able to translate for us and help guide us for the rest of the way.
What was the most successful part of your journey?
The most successful part of our journey was when Sacagawea guided us and took us to our destination. She was the biggest help, but the most successful thing was discovering new things along the way. It was a successful journey, but without Sacagawea, I don't know what Lewis and I would do.
What is Sacagawea's native tribe?
Sacagawea was born in the Shoshone tribe. She was born in 1790, but then was kidnapped by the Padassi tribe and was sold into slavery to the Mandan Sioux.
When did you, Lewis and Clark, meet Sacagawea?
We met Sacagawea while she was in possession of the Mandan and Hadati in North Dakota.
Who died during your trip back to St. Louis?
Luckily, we only had one casualty. A sergeant named Charles Floyd Jr. died on August 20th, 1804. He died from a ruptured appendix.
Well, thank you guys for coming on to my interview. I greatly appreciate it. I wish you luck on your next expedition.
Thank you.